Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the mastermind. Let's see who's on and say hello, hello. Well, I'll start first. Hello from Hubert from Long Island, New York. Please give us a howdy. Let us know how you're doing. This is an exciting episode of the mastermind. I'm running it solo because Ridgely is traveling, folks. Okay, so a lot of folks coming in. Please say hello, everybody. Let's see. Hi, Derek. Hey, Curtis. Hey, Kurt. Donna, welcome. Dr. Art, great to see you as always. Hey, Jim, my good buddy. Lee, Mike, hey, Mike. Ray, Roger, Tom, Bill. Lots of good stuff happening here. All right, so we'll give it a minute. Let me know how things are at your neck of the woods. Everything is like fall here down on Long Island already. So we don't know if we're getting an Indian summer or not, but all right. Donna saying, hey, Hubert, who will you tell jokes to today? Well, Donna, I always amuse myself. Okay, we're getting greetings from Mission Viejo, California. Hello, hello. I know we got some Colorado people. Oh, earthquake 4.7 from Curtis. Normal day. Oh boy. Mike, Austin, nice and toasty here. And we have a representative, Tom, from Oceanside, California. That's awesome. Well, hello, everybody. Okay, so Mike, I remember Austin from before the various boom cycles. We used to love Austin, little old Austin. It's you don't even recognize it anymore. Alrighty, so here we go. Kurt always holds the distance record. Good evening, Hubert, from a beautiful spring evening in Johannesburg, South Africa. I really appreciate these mastermind sessions, as do I, Kurt. All right. Art, you always amaze me. Finally done with 110-degree days in Phoenix. So I hope you're down below 100 at least. All righty. Okay, so one more minute and then we're off to a start. It's nice to see some new folks here. We will be focusing on beginner level introductions. If anybody considers themselves a seasoned AI user, and I know there are a lot of you on the call as well, and would like to kind of co-host with me, let me know. I'll promote you to panelists and we can teach together. It will be painful. I have a document all set to go and you can join me and help walk through my document and share your experience in the world of AI and AI prompting if we have any volunteers. So let's do a call for volunteers here. Anybody would like to come on camera with me, just let me know. Otherwise, I will jump into the basics. If you're an experienced user of AI, and I do see that some of you here are, you probably will have a better time co-hosting with me rather than listening to the beginner tactics and stuff. So I invite anybody brave enough to raise their hand to let me know. All right. Anybody? Come on and teach with me. Okay, Mike, yes. Come on in, Mike. Let's see if I can manage to invite you in over here. And you can, let's see. Promote the panelists, Mike. All right, anybody else? There's Mike coming on. Hey, there you are, Mike. How are you?
Great.
Can you hear me? Great, now I can hear you. I see you have a coffee bar sign behind you. I have the world's best domain for a coffee site that I've yet to create. You want to hear the domain?
What is it?
Javana.com, like Java and Nirvana, but Javana.com.
It's pretty good.
Just, yeah, not bad, right? For a coffee portal. So it's just an idea ready to start. And as you know, as you can attest to, Mike, starting up a new venture or a new division or a new enterprise is easier than ever these days. Alrighty, anybody else want to come on as a panelist? Art, Bill, anybody? Alrighty, just let me know. Okay, so Mike, I've only known you for a couple of weeks now, but I can tell that you know your way around an AI prompt or two. But there's always value in revisiting the basics. Do you agree?
Absolutely. I think,
All
it's
right,
you got
cool.
to master the basics before you feel comfortable.
There you go. And the good thing about the AI scene, as you can attest to, Mike, the basics, there's always a new set of basics like every single week. All right, so let's jump into this. You tell me if you can see my screen in a second. I'm going to share my screen. And as always, I always have an incredibly messy um, desktop. And so excuse the clutter. Folks, can you see my screen? Let's see.
Yeah,
Mike, can you see my screen?
I can. Yes.
Okay, great. Alrighty, so here we go. Let's just jump right into this. Okay, so welcome to AI 101. Some of you I see are new to the community, first time on the call, which is awesome. And I especially welcome you if you're brand new to the world of AI. And let me just assure you that being a beginner in AI is actually an advantage these days because it's easier than ever, not only to get up to speed on AI, but actually learn how to be ahead of everybody else. Because human nature being what it is, you get stuck doing the same old things, meaning the same old prompts, and you kind of get lax about learning, new strategies and new breakthroughs with each release and so forth. And it's actually better to learn things from scratch at this point. Curtis is asking, will I be sharing the documents? Yes, I will. So no need to take notes on the basic things. You will get this exact document that you'll see, and you'll be able to do that. If you do want to take notes, I encourage you to take down things that help you get the finer points of understanding. All righty. So first, I want to start, and again, this is background for those that are new to AI, and specifically the use of AI as a tool for your marketing communications. Very, very exciting. All right, so this document has resources to every single thing that I mentioned here. The idea of AI has been around for a shockingly long time. I'm not going to bore you with the details, but look at this. In 1308, right, in Catalan here, proposed a paper-based mechanical means to create new knowledge from combinations of concepts. Pretty incredible. 1666, a mathematician and philosopher, proposed an alphabet of human thought and argued that all ideas are nothing but combinations of a relatively small number of simple concepts. We all know Gulliver's Travels, 1726. Okay, check this out. This is going to blow your mind. On the island of Laputa, right, there is a thing called the engine. What is it? A project for improving speculative knowledge by practical and mechanical operations. By using this contrivance, the most ignorant person at a reasonable charge with a little bodily labor may write books in philosophy, poetry, politics, law, mathematics, and theology with the least assistance from genius or study. So we've been thinking about AI for hundreds and hundreds of years. And finally, it's ready to the point of us using it as a go-to tool for marketing. What has kept us from using it earlier, and why particularly my partner originally and I are so excited about it now, is that we were early AI adopters. And Mike, I don't know how early you got into the game, but it hurt as much as it helped for us to try to use it for copy. We're kind of nuts about like having good copy, meaning spelling and grammar and sentence structure and all of that. Before the current last couple of years of chatbot type AI interfaces, Mike, it was so painful to read the output of AI that every time we tried it, we turned away because we were like, I'm embarrassed to use AI. I can't do it. It may be fine for driving cars, but it's not good for marketing your business. Any thoughts on that, Mike?
Yeah, and I had a tech company in the 90s
Hmm?
and in 2000s doing content management, and we had so we were using AI, but basically, my experience was creating certain sets of rules and logic. It was much more structured. It's like, okay, this is what you need to be doing, and it needs to kind of learn where things are, like on a document to be able to extract information off of it and things like that.
Right.
Um, my first experience when some of this generative AI came out
Hmm.
uh, was a lot of I guess we all call hallucinations. Uh,
Yes,
a lot of well, this is interesting what it comes up with, and you really had to spend a lot of time fact checking and just making sure that
exactly.
you had other
Yes, and
sources.
let me just interrupt you there for the beginners, Mike. I'm gonna, as we go along, and there are certain key concepts that beginners should know, I'm going to call them out. So thank you for that, Mike, for this teaching moment. Mike used the term hallucinations. When it comes to AI can simply get things wrong. And not only that, they can get things spectacularly wrong. And that's why we call them hallucinations. And he also mentioned these chat sessions. So the big breakthrough. So AI has been around in machines for a long time. Okay, from simple machines such as sensor control traffic lights to more complex machines like your Tesla driving down the street. Okay, AI has been self-contained inside of a device, and there was no easy way for us to interact with it. When the chat bots started coming out, like ChatGPT, the big breakthrough was here was an intuitive interface that we humans could use to query an AI, ask it things, get the input right then and there, and then have some discourse back and forth around it. Mike is talking about the early days of AI when either you got things that are simply wrong, and that's still true today, by the way. Don't count on 100% accuracy from AI. It can be spectacularly wrong. But the good thing about using AI for marketing is that we're producing output for use in our own domain of expertise, right? Mike is a drone expert. If he gets AI output specific to drones or something that's misquoting the specs of the consumer class drones or commercial or whatever, Mike knows that. AI is not meant to rapidly replace you as a subject matter expert. We'll talk about how to get up to speed in areas that you're not a subject matter expert in, but it's to leverage as a tool to multiply your efforts as an expert, right? And so we'll get more into that, but always fact check. But here's the thing. At the heart of it, AI, generative AI is another term that Mike used. Generative AI, meaning on demand, it generates output, is largely a circus trick. And what I mean by that is this. This sounds like it's vastly oversimplifying it, and it is, but conceptually, it's valuable to know. Generative AI is largely a very fancy autocomplete. As you type in, a lot of cranking is going on in the back end to predict what the next word should be. Okay? The breakthrough was that behind the scenes, it's taking that sentence that you started it off with, it's adding a word, and then it's taking that new combination and putting it back in and getting the next word, and back in and getting the next word. It's iterating. But yet the magic is it's iterating in a way that now largely it's grammatically correct, it's largely factually correct, and it has nuances there that tickle us as writers, and we marvel. Mike, I don't know about you, but every day I say to myself, that turn of phrase is actually better than what I would have come up with.
Well, and I routinely now take text, emails, and things like that, and I run them through some prompts
Right?
to improve them. I just to give an example, I sit on the board of directors of a chamber of commerce out here,
Mm-hmm.
and I run our chair our public policy committee. So we have a meeting coming up, and I want to motivate people to come attend this meeting. So I
Right?
wrote an email invitation, and I said, it's pretty good, but I
Right?
ran it through some prompts to try to improve and make it
Right?
more engaging. And I did, and you have to be specific, and you have to, you might try a couple times, 2 or 3 times till you kind of get what you want.
Right?
But it came up with some really good ideas and some good thoughts that I used, a lot
Right?
of, and and so so the thing is, it's there as it's kind of your brilliant assistant, the guy
Exactly.
the guy that knows it all, or the woman that knows it all, um,
Exactly.
and
And
they think
like,
they know it all, and they know a lot, but you need to kind of keep them in check sometimes. And
yes. And you need, like in any situation, Mike, you need to give it decent instructions, right? And so that's what the purpose of this thing is about, AI prompting 101 and beyond. Alrighty. Thank you for that, Mike. Now, for us to use AI for marketing, and when I say we, I'm primarily talking about small business owners, entrepreneurs, consultants, coaches, like, small shop. It's been an incredible tool, especially if you're a team of one, like a solopreneur or a small team with some small staff. Okay? The main uses, for marketing, content creation, and second, data analysis for actionable insights. This second one is nice, but we're not discussing it now because most people in our membership are at the stage of not yet quite having an established business with enough data that they can actually mine for actionable insights, right? That speaks to the whole business intelligence thing and data analysis. And yes, if you have a large group of clients and they've been filling out surveys and this, that, and the other stuff, and you should, you're sitting and saying, oh, what should I focus on in terms of customer support next quarter or whatever, you can actually have AI go and look and see what were the most pressing support issues, are people quitting because of this, that, or the other thing? Rather than slog through all of that manually, you can have AI do that. However, I think the lowest hanging fruit is to use AI for content creation. Why? The quality, as we discussed, is now there. The speed of production is incredible. I have a background in copywriting and launching websites and so forth. And what used to take $20,000 from an experienced copywriter a month to do, literally, and I kid you not, I know it sounds extreme, but as Mike can testify, you can get copy output ready to go that was a couple of years ago worth that $20,000 in a month at a press of a button that is at least as good, if not better, than like a newbie copywriter, but can match a seasoned copywriter. I know that's a bold claim. That stage where that claim basically is true these days.
Yeah, and, Hubert, if I could just add, so
Yes.
I just published a book, 73 page book on actually using prompts to help enhance your brand as a company, kind of the ins and outs of using prompt writing. And what he was saying about how long it takes to do copywriting. I wrote a book I published on
Right.
Amazon on digital marketing back in 2015. I spent 3 months working on that book, writer's block, trying to come up with,
Right.
ideas and formatting and this and that. And so fast forward, I wrote this book. I learned how to be specific. And that's one of the
Right.
things you do as you go through, prompting, learn, how to get what you want out of it. But I got all the content for the 73 page book in one day, less than a day.
Right.
Um, and then a day of formatting, which is probably the hardest part is formatting everything. So it looked, nice and pretty. But I mean, literally took, what, 2 days, 3 days compared to
Right.
3 months. So creating content, I mean, can you imagine, how many more things you can do with your time, which you can accomplish when you learn how to master all this and
Yes,
utilize it
exactly.
successful.
And then not only that, but frankly, for a small business, it's a matter of survival now, because as more and more people catch on to using AI for content creation, and they're increasing the quality of their blog posts, the quantity of their blog posts, the publication schedule of their blog posts, if you're not using this to kind of stay ahead, if not um, at pace with your competition, you're going to start suffering because the search engines are going to ding you for lack of quality content, right? Now, let me just speak to that for a moment. And believe me, I came up from content creation and SEO and all of that. And for the longest time, I poo-pooed AI generated copy. As a matter of fact, I was convinced that Google would somehow penalize that and that you'd be at a disadvantage, and that if it took me days to slave over a blog post, that it could beat an AI generated blog post, any day. While that still may be true, I can guarantee you that I'm going to get tired. I'm going to have little appetite to produce flagship pieces of content like that on an ongoing editorial schedule, as I run my businesses and so forth. I just won't be able to keep up. Right? And so it's a matter of competitive survival to actually stay on track with this. And finally, this third point here, the advantage of using AI content creation, and we'll go into how you can do this absolutely for free, right? So the cost is incredible. The ROI on using these AI tools is just phenomenal. Alrighty, now what's the big challenge? And this is where I had promised that if you're an AI beginner, not only will you be up to speed, but you're going to be ahead of most people, is to understand this concept here. As AI, artificial intelligence, gets better and better and better, what remains, and it's going to be a challenge for the long term, in my opinion, is how do you make the output human? How do you make it limbic? How do you make it emotional? If you say that you specialize in using AI tools to make the output resonate with human audiences, convert better because we use a limbic, emotionally based messaging system, and you merely use AI to get the speed and the quality and leverage it for production, you're ahead of 99% of AI users out there. All you have to do is make that claim. And in addition to using AI for yourself, suddenly you can act as a consultant in your niche and beyond because you have this outlook of using AI up to its limit and then interacting with it in the system that we basically use, which is the whole concept of limbic messaging and how to make that output less robotic and more human. So, Mike, you've only known us for a couple of weeks. You've seen some of our marketing materials for a long time now, but in your opinion, are we addressing the right aspect of trying to make AI's output more limbically connected to humans? What do you
Oh,
think the value of that is?
it is invaluable. I mean,
Yes.
I I have to say because I've worked with a lot of tools, I've seen a lot of things. These are some of the best. Yeah,
Oh, thank you.
and I'm honest,
That's
and
those are big words.
being
Thank you
very
so much.
truthful about that. I mean,
Right,
it is what they have created, and the things that you have available, through their applications,
right,
just makes it so easy to really get the right messaging, and you know, and again, kind of going back to this book I just did, I literally ran the initial content through some of their tools to create that limbic messaging, and it did a great job. And in front of each of the chapters I did, we have a specific limbic message. I believe.
oh, that's great. I know
Uh,
that was Virgilie's suggestion to you, and
yeah. If you look, yeah, we
yeah,
have in front of each chapter, we have a statement on there, a limbic statement, basically to before each chapter. And
right.
so there, yeah, I will say definitely the tools are fantastic. Utilize those tools. It makes it so much easier and more powerful, and you'll get so much better output, I think.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, so let's again focusing back on the beginners. Let's talk about categories of AI tools. And even for experienced people, it's actually good to know, the basic categories, okay, so that you can talk about them. First category is standalone AI tools. And what do I mean by that? These are tools that you can actually go to a website or look at an app on your phone or on your computer. It's a standalone system that can work by itself, right? These are things like ChatGPT or Perplexity or Gemini or Claude. These are things that companies have built. You go to a URL and you start using it. It's a standalone tool. Okay, so that is the first category. Okay, there are general purpose ones such as ChatGPT and Perplexity and so forth. And then there are many leading ones that are specialized. Okay, Midjourney is an art tool. It creates images. Otter is the note-taking tool that a lot of people use on Zoom, right? There, Speako. This one's a very cool one, especially if you're intimidated by public speaking. This one, unfortunately, right now it's not available on Android yet. But if you're a Apple user, it's a little app that you install for free on your phone, and it helps coach you in terms of personal presentation and speaking and so forth. And it's based on AI and it's incredible. Okay. Gamma, next time we get on with our slide expert, Bridget, I'm going to have fun and play with her because this app here, Gamma, helps you create very slick, very compelling PowerPoint type presentations, right? So there are many specialized tools that are standalone as well. Second category, built-in AI functionality. Okay, so these are tools that are integrated with other tools, meaning, like for example, I am in my Google Doc right now. Okay, did you know that you can do this right now at zero cost? Okay, so right here, I'm in a section of my document right here. If I right click, look at this here, and Mike, tell me if you've ever used this before. Help me write, right? It says Neil. When you click this, what's happening is you're activating Gemini AI right within your Google Doc. Okay, so help me write a uh, training document to teach the basics of AI prompting. Okay, I'm going to hit create. Without having installed anything or anything like that, it's just now running the Gemini engine. Gemini is an AI tool. It went and created output. And then you can actually go and let me just see here. You can give it examples. You can refine it, right? You can switch the tone. You can summarize it. You can make bullets. You can have it retry, right? I'm going to have it retry. And then if you're happy with it or not, you can actually then, this one's better than the one earlier. Okay, here's common techniques. Now, of course, read it with your eye as the subject matter expert to see if this is true and if you agree with it or not. And if you like it, just hit insert and it'll insert it right into the spot that we were in, which was right here. Likewise, what you could do is this. Check this one out, folks. If you highlight a section and you right click, you can then go and refine what you've written. You can change the tone. You can summarize it. You can make it bulleted. You can lengthen it, shorten it, or whatever. All kinds of custom stuff as well. Mike, have you used Gemini within the
I
context of a Google Doc?
just started playing around with it a little bit.
It's very cool.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and after you just showed this example, I definitely want to spend more time doing that. I spend probably more of my time in Microsoft Word than I do in Google Docs, but
Well,
yeah,
of course, Microsoft is doing all kinds of cool AI things as well. As a matter of fact, if you saw the product announcements, Microsoft is building AI into their, they're bundling it with their hardware, and that's the next big push, right? Laptops, Surface laptops that are AI ready and have all the tools and all of that built in. So AI is definitely here to stay. Alrighty, now other examples are, and this is again depends on your subject matter expertise. If you're an artist and you use Photoshop, Photoshop especially has been a pioneer in using AI. They have generative things where you can actually, you know, crop out a deer that's in the middle of a shot or change the deer to an elk. You just simply select it, and then there's a generative AI prompt box. You type in instructions. Is it perfect? No, but it's way better than what I can do myself in Photoshop. I mean, it's pretty incredible, right? Even if you have tools like things to check your grammar and so forth, check to see what AI functionality they've actually put into there as a built-in. That's the second kind of thing. Now, the third category are custom AI solutions. These are private purpose-built tools. Okay, now that sounds kind of like a fancy thing, but it actually isn't. And Mike referenced that in our mastermind here, what we've done is we've actually coded up with an outside person that's an expert in this to kind of give the core prompting that we rely on to make things limbic, to have that baked into the tool so that you don't have to learn how to do prompting. Now, I want to stress this. Now, Mike, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but I believe this. I don't know what the time frame is, but I just want to say back over here. Oh no, I'm sorry, I actually didn't put it into this document, but I have a forecast that prompting, the things that we do to get the output that we want, will be obsolete in the future. The tools will be able to do it for us. Right now, we still have to teach it many things, and I'll go into that in depth in a moment. But if it's complicated, it shouldn't be. So this thing, custom AI solutions, vendors such as us will go and customize tools, do all the hard work, and let you use it as an interface. I've been helping some new members set those things up. And one thing that you'll see how I explain it in a moment, the key to how to use these custom AI solutions is this. You need to understand that the access to the model, the AI model, that's the language model as they call it, either is provided by the tool or service and you pay for that, or you pay a lower amount and you get the tool, but you wire up the tool to your own API key from, say, OpenAI. Okay, so now I don't want to get into the spaghetti of how to do that, but the concept is key. ChatGPT offers, or the company behind it, OpenAI, offers access to its natural language models through what's known as an API key. And you open an account, you get the key, and with that key, it's a secret key. You need to keep it secret. That's how you get billed for the usage of AI. And month after month, AI is getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper to use. You take this key and you go and you put it in these custom AI solution tools. Okay. So again, that completes our 3 categories of AI tools: standalone AI tools, built-in functionality that's AI, and then these custom type of tools. Alrighty, let's,
I just wanted to
yeah,
add one thing on the custom. So
yes,
what where really the value of that comes in, I think, is, you know, part of the challenge also is how do I create the perfect prompt, you know, that kind of
right,
covers everything that I want to do. And if I'm in a business or I'm doing something that I'm going to be reusing that over and over again, I don't want to have to recreate that you know, multiple times. So what these tools are
right,
nice is it sort of kind of bakes in the formula. Okay, this is, you know, these are all the things I want: limbic messaging. I wanted to, you know, utilize certain types of
mm-hmm,
style. I wanted to, you know, to do these all these different instructions. And so you're what these tools are doing is pre-designing those so that the user doesn't have to learn how to do all those necessarily. They're just
exactly,
and I think that's where the value comes. And I agree with you that over time, you know, the level of complexity, so some people get a little intimidated, especially early on when this first came out, you know,
right.
it'll get easier and easier and easier for people to interact with the system as these tools get more and more sophisticated.
Great points. And I always use 2 analogies to illustrate this. One's more technical than the other, but every car, if you know the principles of driving and what the controls are, you can pretty much get into a car and drive it. Although getting into a car and getting into a Tesla these days and figuring out how to start it, or even figuring out how to get into a Tesla, is not so easy, right? But the principle is that you don't need to know how the gearing works or the differential works or any of the engine, works in order to be able to drive a car. Meaning it's abstracted from you, and that's what these tools do. The other example is at the beginning of word processing, being a word processing expert was meant you needed to understand all the formatting codes. Back when we were using WordPerfect, WordPerfect people liked because you could toggle between the behind the scenes view and you can expose the formatting and tweak that, as opposed to when Word came, and this is why Word replaced WordPerfect, is that Word and things like Google Docs, as you look at my screen, were concentrating on the content, not on how to use the tool. Now, largely, the tools are largely in a toolbar here, as you see on my screen. There are different tools. You click and you do whatever you want, and you can focus on the content. Steve Jobs called this a long time ago when he was saying the idea of the iPad or the phone, and the reason why it doesn't have any buttons on it is because it's not about the buttons. It's about what's on the screen and the content, right? And so, excuse me, part of what I was saying about if you're new to AI now, you're freed from the technology, the understanding of it. Let me just frankly say this, and Mike, you tell me if you agree. One of the things I love to do is to direct beginners in AI down the path of how to learn AI. And I say this, if you, because it's hard to know in advance if a resource on AI training is right for you or not. That's why I always say before you spend any money on a course or anything else, check out the free things first. Go to YouTube and start checking things out or whatever. As you start checking things out, if you find yourself, your eyes are glazing over and you're bored, that approach is not for you. If it's too technical and you don't have a technical background, then you don't understand what's being said. That approach is not for you. True low-hanging fruit AI usage is not about the technology. It's not about the programming. It's not about like even the hacks of how to use the tool. It's about what can the tool do with your expertise in an area and your intention, and how that can multiply and like make things incredible. It used to be that the internal combustion engine was like, oh my God, this is a breakthrough. I'm going to change the world by understanding exactly, how many strokes, how many valves, how many of this, how many of that. The world got changed, yes, but the benefit of the internal combustion engine are all the people that drive around daily using it, not caring about how it's done, right? And so, Mike, you and I have been in this game a long time. Think of all the cycles that we've spent through learning the trivia that at this point is useless to us.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's nice to have that technical background. Um, I used to do some coding and some things like that back in my old business and stuff that I said, well, I don't even remember how to do any of that anymore because it's not even necessary. But I'm looking at a couple of the comments on chat, and
Yeah,
one of the things that I think in this touches on what Hubert was saying, is it, and I guess a point that I always try to make, when I'm talking to people about AI, is you want to be specific. If you're working with an assistant, if AI is that assistant, it's that brilliant assistant. If I came into that person and said, you know what, why don't you go get me some food? And they said, sure. And they'll go out and go get you some food. And it could be, breakfast, lunch, dinner. They don't really know, but it's
right.
going to respond. But wouldn't it be better if I said, okay, I want to give it parameters. I want to give it specifics. Okay. I want you to go get me lunch. And, I'm not gluten free, but if I were gluten free,
Yes,
or I have a specific uh, want or need. And I think when you're working with AI and you're working with prompts, you want to give it as much instruction and specifics as possible. So that it's just like if you're talking to someone that you're working with, and you want to give them instructions so that you get the best possible results, because you might get results, but it may be too broad. It may not be exactly what you're looking for. So you got to kind of
great point.
think about, okay, how,
Right.
what am I looking for, and what information does AI need in order to get to that point?
Exactly. And we'll illustrate this with actual examples in a moment. Let me just recap the recommended tools. And Mike, you tell me if you agree with this or not. All right. So we recommend ChatGPT as a great all-purpose chatbot tool, right? Um, Especially if you want to follow along with what we do in this mastermind. Ridgely loves ChatGPT and has developed some very specific prompts in his private prompt library that specifically have been developed into ChatGPT. Will they work in other AI platforms? I'm sure they will, but I think that they will need some tweaking. So if you want to follow along and play with us in the course of this mastermind, we recommend ChatGPT. ChatGPT has a free level and it runs the 4 engine, which is awesome. But if you want the latest, 4.0 and so forth, there's an optional program called ChatGPT Plus. Is it worth it? I think so. But that's really up to you. You need to be able to use it to justify the $20 a month plan. Now, this I referred to earlier. OpenAI, which is the company behind ChatGPT, also lets you open an API account. The cost of the API account is a fraction, right? So, Mike, I don't know about you, but I use AI all the time, and I can't remember my last OpenAI API bill, but I'm sure it was not much.
Yeah, I funded it with $20, and I'm still working on the original 20 bucks.
Right, there
I
you
mean,
go, right?
and I wrote a book. I mean, I'm putting a lot of content through that thing right now. So it is pennies,
Right,
each
yes.
time you do it. It really is good value, I think. So
Yes, so this open API account is I think gold. Now, the other big tool that we recommend, and I just want to spend a moment on this, and I'm just going to actually bring this up, Perplexity versus ChatGPT. Okay. The idea of Perplexity And if you haven't used it before, I recommend that you do use it instead of using Google for searches where you're doing it for research. If you want to ask, like, how do I get to my dentist? You're better off using Google. But if you want to know what dental implants are and are they right for me, you put that query in an answer engine such as Perplexity AI, and you're going to get a very different experience. As a matter of fact, let me just play for a second here. And all right, so I'm in ChatGPT, right? I'm going to here. I'm going to type in who won the debate. I'm not getting political, I promise. I'm just asking who won the debate, and I'm in ChatGPT 4.0. Okay, let's just see what it says. Okay, so Kamala Harris, blah blah blah, whatever, and it has a quote, political. Okay, so I got a paragraph of stuff. All right, now I'm going to go to Perplexity. This is an answer engine, okay, and I'm going to say who won the debate. And then let me show you the result and let me explain why it's so different. Okay. As you see it working, it went through a couple of sources. It's presenting them here. It's coming up with an answer. It's being multimedia here. And then it's giving you results. Okay. But what's happening, and then further, it gives you related searches that you can then click on as well. Now, what's going on here is that there's a layer that is a search engine layer. It takes your query and it goes and does a search. But before it presents you with the results of the search, such as what Google would do, it runs AI on it and it synthesizes it with citations and everything, and then gives you an AI interpreted layer here that each one has references to. Just simply this result here, think about your college days, Mike. How long would it have taken you to write this with the right citations and everything? I mean, right?
And Hubert, one thing about like ChatGPT is you don't really know where this information is coming from. It doesn't do
Right.
citations, so you've got to kind of check it and say, is it accurate? What is the source of this? You don't really know. Perplexity, I really like, and I use that often because it does give you the citations, and it also gives you
Right.
other articles and sources to check out,
Yes.
so, which is nice.
Right, exactly. So I urge you all to look at this resource, this Perplexity versus ChatGPT article from Zapier. By the way, Zapier, very wise. I don't know, how familiar people are with Zapier, but Zapier, it's a concept of back in the old days of programming, we used to call it middleware, meaning when you were integrating system A with system B, there was this middle layer involving, APIs and how you get these systems to talk to each other. But the idea of Zapier and other similar things is that they integrate many different data sources to have communication between many different platforms. And so a platform, all it needs is to expose an interface, right? It's called an API, application programming interface, and it will go and connect very many things. And one of the big next pushes is going to be using AI to really do this system integration in a more robust and helpful way. All right. Now, finally, as demonstrated earlier, we do recommend Gemini. It's not only free, but it's built in already into your Google Docs, and they're going to be rolling it out across all the workspace items, even to the point of, I don't have it in my account yet. I think some people do have it in their Google accounts. You can create Google Slides and then type in image generation prompts and have it illustrate and use Gemini to create uh, images that you can put right into your output. Okay. Okay. So now let's get down to this thing about AI prompting 101. Alrighty. Now, how to get the best output. Now, this is what I'm saying here. If you don't know a thing about AI prompts, and an AI prompt is what you actually type into a chatbot to have it start working on your behalf, right? If you know nothing about AI prompting, don't be afraid of using it any old way, right? Each generation of tool is going to get better and better and better. And I think in the future, you won't even need to know some of these best practices of AI prompting, right? But for now, depending on the situation, we still have to provide certain information, which I'm going to explain. So here are some core concepts. And Mike, feel free to jump in and give us the benefit of your expertise as we go along. We love to have people use this act as an expert technique, right? As a matter of fact, we usually recommend people use that right at the beginning of the prompt. And what it does is it'll give you output based on that expertise. So for example, act as an expert copywriter experienced in creating high converting email copy. And then you're going to write, I need an email copy to invite people to my mastermind or in, my chamber meeting, as Mike was suggesting. So when you used it, Mike, I don't know if you did an act as setting, but I find myself using this a lot, not all the time, for more mundane things. But when I need output in a certain usage, I often start off with this act as model.
Yeah,
Do
I
you?
use that. I think it's an excellent tip because, yeah, that way, it's in the mindset of whatever that role is.
Right,
Um, and so, yeah, I said, when I first formed this committee, I
right,
basically said, you are a director on a chamber of commerce, you are this and that, and I
right.
gave it, the instructions or the background as to what that role would be, and then based on that experience, give me the output. So yeah, doing roles,
Right.
acting as is really helpful.
Yes, that's a great one to start with. Now, here's here's one that is kind of subtle, but you need to really embrace it and understand it. We need to provide in the prompt the context. Okay. There's a concept called implied context. All of us here on this call, there was an implied context. We implied that Hubert has some experience in marketing and AI and all this stuff that was set in advance. I didn't have to spend a half hour discussing my CV or my credentials or anything, just by the fact that we have a community and we reach out to their current members, their prospective members, all of that of why we're here and how we're interacting, that's implied. And we can take it for granted. When you meet with another fellow human, there's always implied context that you don't need to say explicitly. However, in AI right now, there's explicit prompting that you have to have. Earlier, Mike talked about, hey, assistant, go get me something to eat. Implied context would be if I knew that Mike was or wasn't gluten-free, as he gave in his example, I would know what to do. If I knew or didn't know whether Mike had any dietary restrictions, if he was a vegan, that would influence my decision as well. But what you need to do is when you write the output, you're going to say, act as such and such, provide me with such and such. Keep in mind that all answers must accommodate vegetarian diets, preferably vegan. Um, the food should be, I don't like purple foods. I mean, whatever the context is, and otherwise you get all of this stuff that you then manually have to sort. The reason why to do the pre-work in creating the prompt is that it's not as simple as garbage in, garbage out. But if you don't want to be filtering your results, you need to state that upfront. Okay, so that's the idea of providing the context. Now, using examples or not, and Mike, I'd like to hear your input on this, is sometimes you can just tell it to write me an email about my chamber meeting. Or you can say that's what's called a zero shot prompt, meaning like you're not providing any examples, you're just asking for it. Or you can say, write me a invitation email to my next chamber meeting. Here's the last one I sent. Make it like this tone. That would be like a one shot. If you had a collection of these where like the way our mastermind works is we have regular mastermind meetings, then we have open house mastermind meetings, then we have this special evening one that we call Mind Types After Dark. I've actually coded a custom ChatGPT that helps me write the emails each time. And I went and I trained it. I told it, listen, once a month we have an open house. Once a month we have a special after dark session. I put in those examples for each. And so that's called a few shot prompt. And again, you can prompt either within the context of one chat session, where you manually type it in each time, or you can persist this and have it in a custom GPT. Okay. Now, Curtis is asking a question in the chat about managing prompts. So yes, that is a whole challenge of how do you save your prompts and how do you improve them and how do you have them readily categorized and everything else. I started down that path. As a matter of fact, I even invested in a few platforms that promised to, let you manage your prompts and all of that. But I've come to rely on my in-stream usage based on some core best practices that if I had nothing to copy from, using these simple basics that we're going through here, I can quickly get back up to a level that I'm happy with without having to copy and paste certain prompts. Now, given that, that is true for prompting 101. When we get into advanced level prompting, like this will be, of course, this will be another session, but you've seen Ridgely work his magic with these iterative prompts and the prompts that create the prompts, right? So I kind of blew his mind when about a year ago, I said, hey, this is the approach, we should check this out. And I gave him the kind of raw syntax to do that. And he was like, oh, the light bulb came on. I can now have a prompt write me these prompts and rate them and everything else. That's an advanced kind of a thing. And Mike, I think that's what primarily impressed you as an advanced user. But it's the core things that I often do. I often don't use that prompt because it's a lot of work. I just jump in and start prompting, and I do less work because I'm not expecting perfect output. I'm in midstream in a project, and I need a very specific level of output, and I'll just do enough work to get to that versus front loading all the work in some sort of super prompt thing. Any comments on that, Mike? How often do you use the big prompt creator as opposed to just freewheeling as we've been
Yeah,
talking?
I do a lot of freewheeling. I mean, if I'm looking for something really specific, I'll start with that. I mean, I'll just go to ChatGPT and I'll type in, something that I'm looking for, and then a lot of times I'll go back to your tools and I'll run it through
Yeah.
like a text enhancer, spruce it up, make it more limbic and things like that. So sometimes I'll just start with something very specific. And by the way, a couple people asked me like on the book. So you want to break things down into smaller segments because one thing is
Yes.
if you're too broad, what is I forget, there's a limit to how many characters
Yes.
that
Right.
ChatGPT will start writing for you. And
Mm-hmm.
if it gets to that point, it just stops. That happened to me recently. It literally just stopped mid-sentence.
Right.
And then I
Yes.
just intuitively I said, okay, continue on.
Right. There you go. Right.
And then
Exactly.
it kept writing. So I guess that's what happens.
Yeah. Sometimes there's an explicit arrow that says, a little box that says continue generating, and you have to manually hit that. It depends on how finicky it's being.
Yeah, but if you just take things down, like, if I was creating a presentation, so anybody, if you want to create a presentation, you say, okay,
Yeah.
here's the topic. You start with the topic, start broad, and then you say, give me an outline, and give it whatever specifics that you can give it, have it generate an outline for you, and then once you get that outline, then go back to each point in the outline,
Right.
each
Right.
bullet point,
Yes.
and then have
Exactly.
it do the detail for that, and you're going to get much better results rather than just keeping it too broad.
Yes, exactly. That's I'm going to discuss that here in a moment. It's called chain of thought is the technical name for it. Let's get down there. I want to emphasize this guy right here. This is the big breakthrough. If you copy this down, you're going to get this presentation in a minute, everybody. If you start using this, you are 99% ahead of everybody else that's trying to use AI because this is how you make your AI output emotional. Okay, right here. This is the actual example. So this is like an example of what's called a few shot prompt. So you're gonna write a prompt. You're gonna say, hey, take a look at this document, rewrite, this for me. I want it in, and I have a section here, your desired tone, right? I wanted to use simple to understand language, make the vocabulary suitable for fifth graders, make it friendly, blah, 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 whatever. That's your desired tone. Then you're going to say, use limbic messaging or emotional messaging in the form of, and then you're going to give these three examples. we believe dot dot dot, you deserve dot dot dot, or because blank matters. Once you put this in your code, you can. I was working on a prompt here. Check this out. Here's a real world prompt that I actually ran. Okay, act as a seasoned marketing professional that specializes in launching products and services related to this website. So I had fed it a website earlier. Help me brainstorm business growth ideas. Suggest services that I should offer to my audience. Generate the top 10 questions related to understanding the needs of the target audience, identifying effective marketing strategies, and considering innovative approaches for the service or product. Include relevant context regarding the product's features, benefits, or competitive landscape where appropriate. Include us this right here is the key. This is the breakthrough. This is what you all came for. Use this, and this will set you apart from everybody else. But tell people that you're doing this, and they're going to be like, wow. Include a section of marketing messages that leverage emotional or limbic messaging and use limbic messages in the form of either we believe, or you deserve, or because such and such matters. This is the special sauce right here. So I'm just telling it like it is. The only thing that makes Ridgely and Huber special is the usage of this type of messaging. But obviously, as humans, language is very important to us, and we respond to messages that include these words better than messages without. Now, you don't want to overdo it. You want it to, have it as a recap type of thing, or a headline, or as in the context that of the example that Mike was providing. Mike had used AI to create a book. It was awesome. He had Ridgely take a look at it. Ridgely said, "Hey, add some we believe statements or limbic messages to the front of each chapter," and he did. And I haven't seen it yet, but obviously from what Mike is saying is like he feels that it's done the job. Alrighty, so now let's get back to this point here that Mike was making. Use chain of thought follow-up prompts, right? Rather than writing one big super prompt and having it crank through all of it on one click, break your request into steps. Then take the interim output, tweak it, and submit it again in the same chat as you go along to kind of build it all up, right? It will do better than trying to do everything in one pass. Alrighty, now the hour is coming up, so I'm just gonna drop some resources for you guys to check out. Okay, Gemini, we spoke about already. This is very cool here. For slides, check out Gamma. Speako was the public speaking coaching. If you're on an iPhone, check that out for sure. Next steps, look at the tools that you're currently using, look for the AI functionality and give it a try. I'm going to show this bonus as a second, but let me first tell you the link to this document here. partnerattractionformula.com/AI101.com. I'm just going to copy the link and drop it in here. When you go to it, it'll be view only. So the first thing you should do is go to File, make a copy for yourself, and then that way you'll have this AI prompting 101 and beyond. I am actually going to use this document as an ongoing training for new members, and maybe I'll do it, once every month and a half or so. And so this document will be growing over time. But make a copy for yourself. Again, it's File, make a copy. You'll have it, and then just use it to put your own prompt examples in. But let me give you guys this as a bonus, and have you kind of like blow your mind on it. Let me show you this. I'm going to go to Chat GPT. Okay, and then I'm going to, let's see. Okay, so let me go to. I'm just going to. All right. I don't know if he's on or not, but one of our members, Scott Brown. Okay, so D. Scott Brown, this guy here, this was on my mind because he had me look at some of his stuff. He's a mastermind member. And I am going to copy, literally, I'm just copying this text here. I don't even care about the formatting, whatever, honors and awards. I'm just going to copy some of this stuff. Okay, I'm going to copy it. Okay, now watch this. Okay, I'm going to literally say, adopt, I hope this works, the persona of D. Scott Brown based on the profile copy I am providing. Answer questions that I ask, and I'm just making this up off the top of my head, that I ask, answer the questions that I ask as this persona. Here is the profile. Okay, then I'm going to paste. Then I'm going to hit submit. Okay, now, so it goes and copies all of this, ingests all of this stuff. There's my thing. Adopt the persona. Now, hello, it's Scott Brown here, and it's great that you've reached out. I understand the unique challenges, blah, 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 whatever. I love to help. Okay, what's on your mind today? Okay, so now, based on his LinkedIn profile, ChatGPT is acting as him. Now, check this out. What services? Okay, hold on. Let me set some context. I am a AI expert and skilled in marketing, communication, website design, social media, and online marketing. What services or products can I offer you or your clients? I want to establish a great working relationship with you so that we can both profit. Okay, so now I told it what I can provide. He's answering as Scott Brown. He's going to advise me on how we can potentially collaborate. Both on, and I'm going to follow up with some questions. What can I offer him? And what can I offer, what we can co-offer his community, right? So imagine you have a sales pitch coming up, and yes, you use LinkedIn to do your research, but hey, why don't you have ChatGPT consume his profile and then engage with me in mock simulations where he's going to answer questions that in real life he wouldn't answer. I'm basically asking him, hey, how can I pitch to you, right? Now I'm going to say, what services can I offer you right now? And how should I present the ideas so that you say yes? Great question. Here's a few services that would align perfectly with what I do. Now, is this true? I don't know. It's based on what he says, right? So Mike pulled the trick on us because, we originally and I spent a couple of moments looking at Mike's stuff, and he's like a drone expert or whatever. So originally it goes right down the road of like asking about drone stuff, but then Mike says, oh, no, but I want to focus on AI and blah, 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 whatever. That's when behind the scenes, I looked at his website and I saw literally 2 sentences about AI. And I said, oh, Mike, I'm going to share with you this new tool, and let's put those 2 lines in the new tool and see what comes up, right? And so here's all kinds of stuff. Now, in real life, I now know some hot buttons, if you will, that I'm prepped for in advance. But when I go and talk to this guy, right? So this is staying on the cutting edge. I don't know if other platforms have it yet. I assume so, but I know that ChatGPT 4.0 has this idea of adopting a persona, right? And so this is the kind of thing where if a new functionality pops up, take what you know of the old approaches and pop that in there and kind of leverage all of that. Curtis, thank you. Curtis says, nicely done. Could take a set of folks and create a persona and use that? Yes, the answer is definitely yes. And you can do it one at a time in a chat, such as I did. Or if you know you're going to be asking a lot about that, you can go and create a custom ChatGPT. Any input on this, Mike, in terms of what you just saw?
No, I mean, it's a great example. I I've had uh, a couple other people that I work with have provided a document that has like some examples like act as you are a so and so, and they have a long list of things, everything from you are a world-renowned chef to
Right.
you are a again you are an accomplished author. The other thing is, as you pointed out there, if
Yep.
you like the writing style, if you're a reader and you like the writing style of somebody, like one of this document that I was just referring to, it has like Mark Twain, or it has,
Right.
um, some people in there maybe that have like a different way that, they like to write and present. I mean, you could have it act as that, adopt that persona, and then, you might get some interesting output. So,
Yes.
um,
Right.
yeah, I think if you can figure out, again, who your audience is, that what what you're looking to prepare, and then figure out kind of what role you want Chat GPT to assume. Um, I think you're going to get some pretty good output, and you can get really creative with that.
Awesome. So thank you, Donna, for the I think it was Donna that asked for the prompt. So I just put it in here. I dropped it in the chat, and it's also in this document here. And just to explain the syntax here, whenever you see this bracket, and this is a common, if you see prompts online, and believe me, folks, there are literally millions of prompts that you can just grab online. It'll have this kind of format. Adopt the persona of, and then you put the name of the person based on the profile copy I'm providing. Answer questions that I ask as this persona. Here's the profile, and then you literally go and copy stuff that you can find and put it in here, and then you run that. Okay. And again, here's the link to this document. It's partnerattractionformula.com/AI101. I encourage you all. I want to respect your time, so we could talk about this for hours, both myself and Mike. This is like a passion, and we could be here on all day and all night. But I know you guys, it's towards the end of the day, and we want to let you go. Any questions from anybody? I'm sorry I didn't answer some of the ones earlier in the chat. Any quick questions, or while we wait for that, Mike, any closing thoughts or encouragement for the folks around here?
No, again, I'd like to express my appreciation for letting me letting me inject.
No,
Hopefully,
no, it's very valuable. I found it very valuable. Great. Donna saying, great job, Hubert. Great job, Mike. Yes, great job, Mike.
appreciate that. No, I think, one thing is about having a community like this, is everyone's learning from one another. Everyone's got a different, different background, different set of life skills and experiences. And I think, part of what makes ChatGPT so credible is that it's basically taking all this knowledge and then, using it to create output. So I think as a community, this is really helpful because, you, especially like, if you wanted to take on a, specific persona, there's just so many possibilities. Anyway, I'm really excited about, where this is going, and again, thanks guys for letting me jump in here today.
Well, thank you for you and your expertise. And feel free, Mike, I can send you the recording of this. Feel free to use this interview in your own materials. I know that you're gathering up training materials and so forth. And so, this recording will be available for your use in that regard too. But one more thing, Mike, that you can do for me, and is to listen to this joke. Are you ready? All right. Mike, what do you call a funny mountain?
You call a funny mountain.
Yes.
Uh,
What do you
I,
call, I'll give you a hint. What do you call a small funny mountain?
don't know.
Hilarious.
Oh God.
All right, folks. Well, appreciate you all. Thank you so much for a great session. Thank you again, Mike. And thanks, everybody. We'll get to your comments and suggestions next time when Bridgely is back. So please keep them around. Sorry I can't stay on longer, but have a good night, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.